Hey, what's up, people? What's up? Welcome back to my show. This is Danny, Comment Chat, and today, my buddy Terrence, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, welcome to the show. This is Equilibrium, starring me, Danny, and my buddy Terrence. On this show, we talk about all things that really interest us, comic book related, uh, comic book shows, Black Lightning, Flash, Arrow, anything in that genre. Talk about movies, books, like I said, whatever crosses the mind, and we also answer any chats, any questions in the chat. Before we get started, just want to let you know that I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,500. I can only do that with your help, 1,500 subscribers by Father's Day, which is the third Sunday in June. Um, please help with that. Please retweet this show, share it, share the link. Please subscribe to the channel. Me and Terrence need and want your support. And also, please make sure you hit the notification bell because every Sunday at 6 p.m., he and I do this show we thought together called Equilibrium. He thought of the name, which is fitting because we kind of balance each other out. I have a lot of the questions, he has a lot of the answers. So it's a very equal, symbiotic relationship. So, Terrence, what's been going on, bro?
Not much, man. I'm just doing my different stuff that I normally do. Can't really go to the movies because of what's going on, but outside of that, my life as a whole has not really changed in the way that it has for a lot of humans dealing with all the nonsense going on out there and just humans losing their minds and being emotional. But everything is just fine on my end. I'm cool.
Okay. Can you hear me? My speaker was going in and out on an earlier stream. Does that sound clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Um, I'm gonna pop up this poll I did last week. That'll be the first thing we discuss. See if I can pull it up. I've been practicing today, trying to make sure I can get it. This is the poll. Can everybody see it? And my question was, would you like to see movies go to streaming services as long as well, the the crisis we're in now prohibits theaters from opening? And as you can see, 45% said hell yeah, they would like to go to streaming services. 14% say nope. 21% say maybe, and 19% said I really don't care. So, having said that, I am a fan, a big time fan of the streaming service. Movies going straight to stream. I think, I learned a new terminology today: boutique theaters. Um, if people in the future want to go to these boutique theaters, and basically it was a boutique theater, what I was told is a theater that only has like two screens. I think they should throw a lot of money into those theaters. Make sure the chairs are comfortable as possible. Increase the menu because if I'm going to pay $18 to $20, I want more than popcorn, um, Skittles, and nachos. My daughter lives in Georgia, and she's saying there's a theater somewhere, I think close to Atlanta. And they got like recliners, soft recliners, leather recliners. They bring you food. It's like a whole experience. So if they're gonna do something like that, then I will pay my money, extra money, to go for that experience. But if not, then I'm cool at staying at home. So tell me what you think about it. What's your take on it?
Um, yeah, I would much rather prefer to go to the theaters over just everything going to the streaming. I was going to the theaters before they closed them all down, and it didn't bother me about what was going on. So to me, certain things should be experienced in the theater, and that's what they call it. Your cinematic presentation. And I feel that that's the best option for me. That I would prefer to do that. In terms of it going to streaming, um, I'm only open to that if I can't get it any other way. Because to me, there's nothing like the theater experience. Not so much because I care about any sort of crowd or what their reactions are to whatever I'm watching, but I do like the atmosphere and the size of the screen. You know, that's one of the few things that I enjoy doing. So hopefully they don't just keep the theaters closed indefinitely, or there's only a couple of options. I would very much still like to have that option open in terms of being able to go to the theaters.
There's one option we discussed earlier. I think this might give us both what we want. Um, if you go to a drive-in, I'm pretty sure there's drive-ins in California where you live at, and that would also take care of the social distancing that they're asking us to practice because you'd be in the comfort of your car, even wherever you want to take. I guess whoever you take, you would know, but pretty much know they wasn't exhibiting any signs of the bunny rabbit virus, and you feel safe from taking them, and you can listen to the movie in the comfort of your car, and you can be a safe distance, and that you will still get to see the movie on a big screen, still have that experience. So you would be like, instead of being in a theater seat, you'd be in the comfort of your car. Would that be a compromise you can see yourself doing?
Um, I only remember going to a drive-in theater once when I was a kid, and that was to see Batman Forever. And the experience was fine. I mean, I was focused on the movie, and we were outside, and we see other cars around, and we had the speaker set up to the car. Um, I feel like I enjoyed the movie more so than the experience itself. Like I didn't really feel like it was something that I had to do again. So in terms of watching movies, if I were to have to choose between a drive-in theater and actually, going to a theater itself in a particular room, I would always choose the theater room over the drive-in theater. And I don't own a car. Like everyone I know, for the most part, they have some kind of vehicle that they get around in, whether it's a car or some type of motorcycle. But if I'm going with a friend, which is what happens the majority of the time, they would have a car, so that would indeed be an option. And if I had to choose between the drive-in theater and say, just kind of being at home on the streaming, I would definitely choose that over the streaming because that would be
Okay,
the closest thing that I would have to actually being in a theater room in comparison.
I got you. I think that's a fair compromise. I'm going to read a little bit from the chat. Someone, D. Scott, wants to ask you a question. I'm trying to see, did he pose a question? I don't see it, but he said he wants to ask you a question. So, D. Scott, you have our attention now. So, if you want to ask Terrence a question, go ahead and ask him a question. Type it in. Um, I have just yesterday I purchased the Rise of Skywalker novel. I think that it definitely is much, much better than the movie. Right now, I think I'm on chapter 5, and it started off way different than the movie did, and it tells some things about it. Well, it explains a lot of stuff. Talks about how Leia trained Rey, that she did in fact receive training from Luke. Um, Rey is trying to make contact with the Force spirits, has been unsuccessful so far in the book that I've read. In the part of the book that I've read, she is also. It also talks about Palpatine and what happened to him and all the contingencies he had in place. And this guy, he was always thinking he was 3 or 4 steps ahead in all his contingencies and stuff. The book goes into that. It goes into Kylo Ren's thought process, what he really wants. Um, Kind of explains about the kiss on the part I've read, and also it explains why he had to rebuild his helmet, and he's wearing that again. So I think that it's very enlightening. I was on a channel probably about an hour or two ago, and one of the people on the channel disagreed with me, which he has a right to. I have no problem with him disagreeing. But I just think that after reading this book, it makes you want to watch the movie again. So maybe it'll be much more clear and more coherent than it was when I saw it the first time. And the second time, like, just don't make sense. So now knowing what I know and after I kind of metaphor I use is like wake up on a foggy morning and you know the road's there, but you can just barely see a little bit in front of you. Then as the sun burns the fog off, it clears up. You can see the whole picture. I think the book is the sunshine that's burning off the fog. So now I'll be able to see a clear picture when I watch the movie again. So that is what I'm hoping for. And that is what I think it will give me. But that's just my opinion.
Um, I can't speak on that book because I haven't read it. But like, if it's pulling from anything in the current trilogy, then my interest is just not there because I think that they made a lot of mistakes with the current trilogy with very sloppy storytelling and very poorly written characters that I just felt like the best thing that you can do is maybe have some scenes that I find to be entertaining because there's not really going to be too much food for thought in the way that the past Star Wars material was,
Yeah.
specifically the original trilogy. And while I like certain things about Rey and Kylo, there are way too many things that I don't like, and those characters don't really have any sort of strong placement because of the way that they've been written. So the potential for them, if I were to be in charge of starting the trilogy from scratch, is there. But it's just any sort of thing where I hear about a book or a comic book or a video game making adjustments, all that does is just tell me that that just shows how many mistakes that they've made and that a lot of people feel the same way. And what they try to do is make what we've seen a little bit more coherent, but my stance will still remain the same that they shouldn't have taken that approach to begin with.
Oh, I definitely agree with you, but it's kind of like you see a magic trick, you're trying to figure out how in the hell did that happen, but then you watch one of those shows that show you how the trick worked. So then you go back and watch it again. You go, oh, okay, now I see. So it's kind of like that effect. Not gonna make the trick any better or worse, but now that you know what it means, you got a better understanding of it. That's my take on it. The
Right.
question that D Scott had for you was, have you ever watched The Gifted?
Yes,
And
I
if so, what did you think about the show?
um when they announced that they were doing the gifted and that it was going to air on Fox, I was definitely covering that the whole time, and I was really paying attention to that. And I was looking forward to seeing what they would do with an X Men based series and the storyline of the Brotherhood and the X Men were no longer around because they killed each other off in a very epic battle, and that the mutants of the world, the few that were left, had to fend for themselves in smaller factions. They could not go to Magneto or Charles or anyone that would normally be under them for assistance. So I'm just like, that just made the storytelling even more intense. Like, what do you do when you don't have the options that you've heard of from other mutants being able to go to, and you can't do that? You have to really figure out your own stuff. And I liked a lot of the characters on the show and how they had different organizations that were all there for different reasons in terms of capturing, experimenting on them, torturing them, killing them, and enslaving them. That was a very constant theme throughout both of the seasons. And the show always had this potential to get better and better. And as I was watching from season one to season two, I saw that. And I was always on board, like, oh man, I can't wait to see what they do next. I wonder if they're going to encounter any mutants that are connected to the Brotherhood or Charles Xavier. We saw that Polaris is such a mutant, Magneto's real daughter. Because I remember for a long time in the comics they were saying that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were his kids, but that was proven to not be the case. That he thought that, and Polaris is actually his real daughter, and she's a main character in the show. So it was cool how they played up that angle and showing like, okay, what are the differences between her and her father, and what are the similarities? And if other mutants find out that she is mutant royalty because her father is Magneto, like what would be their reactions to her? Are they going to be afraid? Or are they going to try to turn her over to the humans? Like there's so many different things that they played up in the show that I wanted to see from the movies that I got to a large degree, but in the sake of a show, you can really flesh it out more. And I think The Gifted did a good job with tackling all that kind of stuff at the same time, and you getting a very coherent, intelligent type storytelling that I have come to read in the likes of the various X-Men comic books.
Okay. I never saw the show, so I can't speak on it. But there's your answer, D. Scott. As he answered in his he
Oh,
said, he said the Gifted was a very interesting show. So
yeah,
good deal. I'm tell you, I got so bored last week, man. I watched Inhumans. I couldn't. I was like, there's nothing on here. I don't watch just about everything. So I went to Disney Plus and I saw Inhumans, and I'm like, oh, I'll give it a shot. But after the second episode, man, I just went to the last episode to see how it ended. And I was like, okay, I see why this didn't make it.
yeah. That show was really terrible in the way that they treated those characters. Like you can tell that the writers and the people involved have never read an Inhumans comic book in their life, and they just somehow thought that they were going to use the name and it would be fine. But as I was watching it, I just kept seeing moments where the potential to have good storytelling was there, but if you put anything in the hands of really bad and passionless writers, you're going to get a pile of crap, and those characters didn't deserve that kind of treatment. And the good thing to come out of that is that the majority of people have not seen it. A lot of people haven't heard of it. They didn't even know it existed until somebody said something about it, or you find conversations where they're like, "Oh, that was a thing. I thought they didn't go through with that." And then some very few people would remember that Kevin Feige had announced it as a movie, but then things had changed. So Jeff Loeb had decided to turn it into a show, but um, it was just very flat and dry. And you can't do that to the Inhumans family. Like those characters are too bizarre and fantastical in nature to be giving a very dull treatment. In fact, if you haven't seen Agents of Shield, like they have, like season three was very good at dealing with the Inhumans storyline. I much rather would have preferred that they deal with the Inhumans instead of that really trash show that we ended up getting on their own, because the on Agents of Shield they did a very good job in breaking down what Inhumans are and the evolutionary process. And they actually did some very complex threads in their storytelling that I really appreciate. And I was like, man, if Black Bolt and the royal family were done on this show, they would have did them much better.
Yeah, that boat boy, he wasn't no joke. Cause on the on the show, he spoke when he was a little boy and killed his parents. But his brother had something to do with that. And then at the end, he spoke again and locked his brother in this like food shelter or something on the
Yeah,
moon. But um, something I want to get your opinion on. Have you seen the trailer for Gotham High yet?
no, I've seen images and I was going to click on it, but I just didn't.
All right, we're going to click on it. I want you to see this and get your reaction. See if I can pull it up. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay. Why is it buffering? Can you hear it?
No, I can't hear anything.
Huh?
No, I can't hear anything. It's like quiet on my end.
Hold on. I probably forgot to share it. Let me share the audio with you. Yeah, there we go.
He doesn't have friends.
Okay, I can hear it now. So you're just trying to get it back to the beginning.
He has followers. Has nothing to his. Welcome to Gotham High. To Gotham High, where everyone worships the rich and the beautiful. And nowhere or more handsome than Bruce Wayne. He doesn't have friends, he has followers. My friend Jack Napier has good looks and a wicked sense of humor. The problem is that I love them both. I'm Selena Kyle, that girl next door. And in my opinion, a triangle is a perfect shape.
You able to hear it that time?
Yeah. As you can see, I had no verbal reaction from that, and the reason why is because it looks awful. The the art style, like, is this going to be a comic book or an actual
It's a comic
show?
book. I was told that there was an actual television show, animated television show in the works a few years back. They never got green light. So I don't know.
I can see why. The first off, I do not like the art style of it. It looks very kiddish, and I would not associate those elements with Batman and this sort of high school love triangle angle that you are putting with Jack Napier and Bruce and Selena is very teen bopish slash twilightish kind of approach, and I think that that's the wrong way creatively for a character like Bruce Wayne or the other characters for that matter. You should have a much more serious, compelling kind of approach.
I'm gonna show you a picture of what the Gotham High animated series is supposed to look like. See if I can pull it up. You can see right here on the right.
If you can enlarge that one on the top right.
Let me see. Let's see. I guess that's supposed to be like um, Penguin here, Two Face. Who this guy is here on the I'm assuming that's the Joker. No, that's the Joker right there. I'm not sure who this gentleman is here. That's Selena Kyle, and of course that's what's the Joker's girlfriend? Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze. You see who I'm pointing to?
Yeah.
That's
Um.
Mr. Freeze. I'm not sure. I guess that's Bane, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, Joker, Selena, maybe the Riddler, Bruce Wayne, Batgirl, or maybe it's the Riddler. I'm not sure who this individual is right here. That's
Um.
Croc, Penguin, Two Face. I don't know who the guy is on the end. Oh no,
Um.
that's Clayface. They're seeing it right here. Clayface, Two Face, Penguin, Killer Croc, the Riddler, Batgirl, Batman, Scarecrow, Catwoman, Joker, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Bane, and Mr. Freeze in high school. This came out in 2011, but the show never got green lighted.
I'm very glad that it didn't because I'm getting Teen Titans Go, Teen Titans Go kind of feel.
Yep.
Um. Like
Yeah.
the nature of the characters and the context of the Harley Quinn cartoon is acceptable because it's done from her perspective and she has a very interesting, silly nature about her. So you can get away with that in a way that if you make a Gotham High story, it should not, or any sort of Gotham school should not be playful and these characters are eating Lunchables together and stuff like that. And, maybe Mr. Freeze talking about during fifth period, like, yeah, I'll probably be a great villain when I grow up. You'll see. I'm like, it's just something that I have to shake my head at and I can't really take seriously. And I think that because of the Batman movie should be coming out at some point, probably next year, more than likely, that you don't want to attach something like that to that particular movie because it will be attached because that will be the next Batman thing coming out. And it could possibly give humans the wrong impression. I mean, when you see the trailer, you can divorce it, but what you want to do for any sort of Batman material is that you want to convince people that something better is on the way. Like, hey, look at this. Now understand that something better is coming. But in the case of what you just showed me, I'm not thinking so much that, but as much as I'm hoping that the movie is better than what I just watched, because that's not okay.
Well, I would have liked to seen what they would have done with it because I haven't seen the Harlequin yet. But to me, we discussed it, I think, the last chat. It kind of reminds me of the cartoon, the drawing of the Batman. And to me, the Batman was the best Batman animated cartoon in my opinion. I like the Batman the series, but to me, I like the Batman the best. I like the way he looked. I didn't like his Bruce Wayne. Whoever drew his Bruce Wayne, I didn't care for. But the Batman in the suit, the car, the villains, his equipment, his gadgets, that Batwave, I thought that was cool. So I guess
Um,
it's
well, in terms of the Batman, like I was okay with it. Um I don't think that it had anywhere near the intelligent writing that Batman the animated series had. I just to me, the Batman had a cool factor to it, but I just wasn't really invested in it the same way. Like I still think that Batman the animated series, when it comes to storytelling, that very few comic book based cartoons can even hold a candle to it in that particular regard. And the nature of the Batman was also a lot more serious than a lot of the silliness being suggested in the trailer and the images. I'm like, I'm going to be laughing at this in a way that I'm probably not supposed to because it just looks really ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Um, I agree with you. The Batman the series was the writing was better, but like I said, sometimes when it comes to certain movies, certain superheroes, I like the visual. The visuals really. I like the Batman and the Superman when they teamed up and they made the Justice League at the end of the series. How when Batman and Superman joined forces and they introduced the Flash and introduced Green Lantern and all that stuff. To me, that was really cool. I like the way they did that. I don't think they never really introduced to other superheroes on in the Batman the series, no more than
Well,
Batgirl
well, I mean,
and
in
Robin.
terms of Batman the animated series, that was specifically focused on Batman, and in terms of the visual styles of the show, I felt the way that they drew the shadows and what they did with the lighting, and also showcasing what fear actually looks like in a way that other cartoons they didn't really accomplish that. Like
Yeah,
visually,
that was.
the
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on the way that they did the fear part. But I didn't like that old style. The okay, he was Batman, had all these gadgets and stuff, but it looked the old like in the 40s and 30s style. I didn't care for that. I didn't like the long looking sleek Batmobile. I didn't like that. I like the Batman um, Batmobile better. But like I said, it's to each his own. I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it. I'm just saying, as far as the
well,
styling of the cartoon, it wasn't really my cup of tea.
when it comes to superheroes having things that other people don't, to me that's kind of like one of those no-brainer things. I'm like, they're supposed to be more advanced than everyone else, which is what makes them super. You
No,
know,
I mean to me it was like it was what we accustomed to Batman having is way above what the time could have produced back then. Kind of like how Tony Stark dad said made that element, but he said the technology of his time is limiting him. He can't make it. But when Tony comes of age, he'll be able to make it. And Tony was able to figure out that new element, kind of like that. That's what I was saying.
well,
I know that the superheroes going to have more upgrade stuff, but it just like it was filmed in the 30s and 40s, but his equipment was in the 2000s. That's how it came off to me. But I mean,
right, and
I
that and
understand what you're saying.
yeah, and that to me that's why it worked because like the just the nature of how everything else was set up, and aside from who the character is, with the stuff that he was able to make and reveal to the audience and to the characters alike, I'm like, this is why this guy is a problem. That is one of the ways that you show people the fantastical nature of the character is by allowing them to do things and have things that would be way ahead of everyone else, even in terms of years. Like, how would this person have this? And it's like, well, that person is a superhero.
I got you.
So, um, in terms of Tony Stark, in Iron Man 1, when he built his first Iron Man suit in the cave, it's like, he had limited supplies and he shouldn't have been able to do that, but he's Tony Stark. Like, no one else, for the most part, would have been able to do it in the way that he did. And that's what
Yeah,
made that special. And even when um, uh, the guy that yelled at one of the scientists to, make it bigger,
you
and he
see, I'm
was
not
telling
Tony
him,
Stark. Yeah,
yeah, he's like, I'm not Tony, and that does make a difference with who the person is in terms of what their abilities are.
I agree. Um, Going to the chat some now. Do you guys think Morbius will be delayed? I think every movie that's out now is going to be delayed. I was pleasantly surprised. I saw on the TV earlier today that Bloodshot is already on streaming service. So I'm probably going to check that out tomorrow because I'm off tomorrow. So that was a pleasant surprise. I think more
Um,
movies are going to do it. I see if I'm not mistaken, on Disney Plus, Frozen 2 is already out. I'm being told they're seriously kicking around Black Widow. I don't know, but I
um,
think go ahead.
well, here's the thing. In terms of Bloodshot, number one, that's a smaller movie and it just came out. It's the same thing with The Invisible Man. It was out for a
Hmm.
little bit, but it's a smaller movie. Frozen 2 has been out for a while. So, like, when you're looking at these movies that they're putting straight to streaming, none of them are huge blockbuster movies. And if they are, it's because they've already been out, something like Frozen 2. Like the day that we see a huge blockbuster like say Fast 9 or Black Widow or Wonder Woman, which is not going to happen because Warner Brothers said that they're going to delay it to August. And we don't really know when all this stuff is going to stop, but something like Morbius, which is also potentially a huge blockbuster, that comes out in October. So that any movie that comes out or is scheduled to come out in September or October or after, they're very safe because they said that this stuff is not going to last no longer than 2 months. And even if it goes a little bit over, October is a ways away. Like you're talking about, I think for Sony to even begin to think about moving it or delaying it, this stuff would have to venture into the whole July, August kind of category because then it's like, well, maybe it won't be over by September and definitely not October. But until it gets into the summertime, like those movies to me are safer than the ones that have been getting um, postponed, like Black Widow, because that's right around the corner. Fast 9, same thing with Wonder Woman. Those are very close to the guidelines of when they think things will go back to normal. So I feel like the stuff that they're delaying only fits the pattern of what they set in terms of when things will be safe. Because there's plenty of other movies that have not been delayed, but because you're hearing about delays, it seems logical to think that so many other things will get delayed, and that might be the case. But I feel like we shouldn't have to worry about movies like Morbius that comes out in October. I don't think so. At least not yet, anyway.
Okay, good deal. Mads, I saw the VIP menu you sent. I think it's about pizza. That looked awesome. But here where I'm at, we don't have pizza. All we have is popcorn, nachos, several different drinks, and several selections of candy. That's about it.
Um,
Uh,
you're talking about in the theater?
yeah.
Let's see. Almost any theater that I go to, they have popcorn. They have tons and tons of different candy. There are hot
Mhm.
dogs, pizza, nachos, slushies. They have like the multiple machines where you select what kind of drink you want and then you put it under and it does that with the crushed ice or the cubed ice. So there are lots of options at the concession stands over here
No.
in
Yeah.
California and LA.
Yeah. You don't have burgers or pizza. My thing is the nachos. I always get nachos.
Um, well, in terms of burgers, if um, like there was, I think maybe twice that I went to one of those theaters where you have the leather seats and people come in and ask you what you want to eat, and then by the time the movie starts, you already have your meal. They had stuff like kind of like noodles and steak and fancy stuff like that. So it could have very well been that maybe a burger option was on the menu, but I didn't really look at it in the way that my friend did. Once he decided to get something specific, I just kind of went with that because it sounded good.
Yeah, I
So
got you. Um, Android says two Riverdale, in my opinion. I guess he's talking about the Gotham High response.
um, I have not seen Riverdale. I've seen what it looks like. I've never had even the smallest amount of interest in watching it. Just When it comes to shows, I'm a lot more selective than I am with movies. Like movies, 2 hours, I watch it, and if I don't like it, I move on. But with shows, especially something ongoing like Riverdale, never any sort of trailer or scene has enticed me to watch it. Um, but I've heard different people say that it's good, and I'm not denying the quality of the show. I'm not interested in it at all.
I got you. May I, as Mama Bear say, while we have a lot of stuff for free that Americans don't, the price of most stuff increases as soon as it crosses the border. And then Jason says, free stuff, like, and where do I get this free stuff? And man says, healthcare, for example, Jason. We do not have free healthcare here, I can assure you. I wish we
Um,
did, but we do not.
well, for me specifically, I definitely have a free healthcare plan. I applied for certain things, and I probably wasn't supposed to get it, but I did. It's just a matter of understanding the system and working it to your advantage is really what it comes down to. And it actually sounds a lot harder than it is, but I feel like once you understand how the system works, you can definitely manipulate it to your advantage. It's really about what you know.
I got you. Ninjoy says On will be out tomorrow on Disney Plus. I may check that out too. Is that one about the little wizard trying to find his daddy or something?
I
Like,
saw that, and that's actually a great movie. It's about two elves, if I'm not mistaken, and they're trying to see their father who is gone, and they feel that the world that they're living in is devoid of magic, and they want magic to come back and be a regular thing like how it was at one point. And they think that they can go on this mission to see their father again, and maybe that would bring the magic back in the world that is sorely missing. Like the characters and the two brothers specifically in their journey to find their father, I thought was actually pretty charming, and like I appreciated the amount of thought that was put into a kid like movie like that. It actually surprised me with how good it is.
good deal. Me and grandson and I will check it out tomorrow. Man's Mama Bear said, I found out today the live action Last Airbender Netflix series is delayed because of this. I was not even aware they were making a live action Last Airbender series. But if it's like the movie, then I don't even want to see it because the movie pissed me off.
In turn, like in terms of the show, I've only seen little bits and pieces of it. Like I've never got into it like some of my friends, but I'm
Hey,
like,
it's just awesome, bro. When I can't think his name, Gang, Elaine, whatever the
and
last
Ong
Airbender
or
is.
whatever.
Oh yeah, Ang,
Like
ANG. Whenever that fool figures out all four forms, he is hell. He figures
yeah,
out the fire. Then he has when he's floating. He got the water floating around him, like, and then he got rocks floating around him, and he has the air, and he got the fire all floating around him. That he can use any one. That's boy. He killed the fire lord, buddy.
yeah. Like I had some friends like have it on when I was over their houses, and like I sat down and watched some of it, and I was like, I can see the appeal, but I just don't care. But when the movie came out, I recognized it as being what that was that I watched in terms of how the characters look. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm familiar with the basis of this, and I watched it, and I was like, okay, this is one of those situations where I don't have a lot of knowledge on what I'm watching, so the thing that I can do is only critique it as a movie. And as a movie, I was like, this is okay. I feel like it could have been a better movie. Like they wasted a lot of potential and storytelling of certain characters. But to me, the best part of the movie was the opening sequence when you had the different martial artists and they were showing the fire bending and the water bending and stuff like that. I thought that opening was really good, and then the rest of the movie was just mediocre.
Yeah. Jason Miller says, when I hear what Americans pay for a hospital visit, okay, y'all gut free. We don't. Let's don't bring it up no more. It sucks paying for medical. I get it. Me and my wife. I don't want to tell you how much it is a month for me and my wife. Luckily, my grandchildren, I don't, my daughter's carrying them, but it's expensive for two people. A whole family is even more expensive. So I envy you, Canadians. If you got free health care, fantastic for your government, your president. I hope some of that leaks down into our system. I don't think it never will, but it is not a good feeling to have to pay X amount of dollars out of pocket in a month,
Yeah, you
and
just kind of
whenever you go
you
to
just
a
kind of
visit.
cut out and then don't look like you're moving at all.
How about now? Am I frozen? Hello?
Okay, yeah, now you're good. So what was that last part you were saying
Uh,
about the wife and
I'm just saying that it sucks when you have to pay that monthly fee for your family and trying to reach your deductible, and it's just I hate it. I hate it. Jason
um
Miller says, "Tell Terrence his lasagna video was really funny." I don't think I watched seen that one yet.
oh appreciate the compliment. Uh yeah, that's one of the many meals that I consumed and talked about. I mean, I just go through all sorts of different food. My rule of thumb is that if I like it, then it's on the menu. I don't believe in well, in terms of counting calories, like I will only do that based off of how much I know that my body needs to continue to function at the rate that it does in terms of maintaining and building muscle if need be, and making sure that my body is not overly hungry. But aside from that, um, counting calories, like, I have to lose weight, I have to do this and that. A lot of people that do that, the funny thing is, a lot of them look very bad and they will be very preachy about what you should and shouldn't do, but they don't look any better than anyone else. And really, what it comes down to is just, one's ability to train and to learn how to train better. And you look at what kind of genetic limitations that you may have and do your best to work around them. Because what it comes down to is that it's not so much that you have to look like someone specific, but what you can do, as long as you don't have any sort of mental or physical limitations that would prevent you from doing things like that, what you can always do is make yourself better. You can always improve upon oneself. So that really should be the only focus point. And a lot of stuff is designed to trick you and take your money and make you feel bad. And that comes from people that don't understand what they're doing, and they're just simply going with whatever Bobby or Tiffany tells them, and that could be the wrong thing for them specifically. So um, I've been doing this since the age of 14. I'm 31. So I have a lot of experience in terms of doing things and trying things out, and watching documentaries and reading magazines and books and such. So really, it's a trial and error kind of thing. And I take, so when I hear that someone's doing the same, because I have failed in different areas, I can tell them that you want to save your time and not go down this path because it's too risky that you would fail.
There's a lot of gimmicks out there, bro. I know. I try a lot now. One thing I do know for certain that is portion control. Here in America, they sell us give us too big of portions at these restaurants because you don't grown accustomed to. I pay this amount of money for it, so I'm gonna make sure I get my money's worth. Love to say that. And buffets, that's not good for you unless you're very very disciplined. So I recently, well, probably the past 6 months, I lost about 30 pounds. But what helped me was get this place called Johnny's Garden. When I was on this 10-day, with like green smoothies, and that helped me a lot. Day 2 and 3 was kind of rough, but I usually drank two smoothies and a sensible meal, and I lost 30 pounds fairly quickly and been able to keep it off. So I know you can be done.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is portion control, and then my
Well,
biggest temptation is freaking potato chips. God, that's the biggest, most evil
Well,
thing God ever.
here's the thing, Danny. Like, I'm not saying you, but like a lot of humans, what they do is they make excuses and they're lazy. Um, Whatever your genetics are, in terms of if you're predisposed to gaining weight, you gain weight easily. It's hard for you to gain weight. You have to come up with your own plan to deal with your own imperfections, as to where something may be easy for someone else, it may be very difficult for you to get that same thing or to get anywhere near close to that. But if a person doesn't try, then really they're just talking for the sake of talking, because there's no
Mhm.
action being taken place. And you'll hear all the time, I'm going to do it tomorrow, or I'm going to start next year, or if I didn't have this job, if it, they're just a bunch of excuses. Because notice that while these same humans are talking about they don't have time, they're still able to watch their little movies, their little TV shows, be on Facebook for 2 hours, play their little video games, go out on their little dates. That's time that you can use to, whip yourself into better shape. So really it comes down to how important is it to the human that's running their mouth? And you will know, because the ones that it is important to, it has become part of their life, whether that be their entire life or just a piece of it. But it takes continuous work, because it's one thing to, build muscle or to lose the weight, and it's another thing to keep the weight off or to maintain the muscle that you have built. These are different types of journeys, and they require a certain amount of discipline and sacrifice depending on the program. But what is similar to each other is that it requires consistent work and consistent effort. There is no stopping. You can take breaks, but if you stop, you will gain the weight back. You will lose a lot of your definition. Some of your strength will be depleted. So this is something that once you start, as long as you want it, if you don't have any sort of again, physical limitations, you have to keep on that. And if you do get physical limitations, doctors have suggestions and things in place to where you can work around it to get what you want. You just have to go about it through a different approach. So instead of, humans finding excuses why not to do it, they should be finding excuses to do it. And you were just talking about your diet, Danny, and things that you implemented, the smoothies and stuff like that. And that's fine if you know that that works for you. But one of the biggest examples of how a lot of stuff out there is BS are prisoners. They're stuck in prison and jail, and a lot of those places don't have weights anymore because the prisoners use them as weapons and stuff like that. So a lot of that is gone.
No, no, it's gone because the prisoners was going in there and getting stronger than the actual cops.
That's another reason too. But I feel
Yeah,
like the main
that's the
reason is
main
because they
reason
were
here.
using them as weapons.
I've never heard that. I
And
heard.
so, like,
Go ahead.
I mean, I've heard both, but like, if they're very
I
big on prisoners not having weapons. So
I agree, but there were some. I'm doing this 25 years now, and there was some going in looking like uh who's what JJ and coming out looking like He Man, and it was becoming a problem.
yeah,
So that's what happened.
right, right, right. And I think based on what I've heard and read about, that it's a mixture of both. Which one is more prevalent? I feel will vary from article to article in prison and cop to cop, because I've heard both sides of the scenario. But both of
Yeah.
those were definitely thing. Prisoners found a way around that because you can still do your body weight exercises,
Yeah, you
and
going in and
what
out.
you would have is under how your body works and how much time it takes. And the place, presses, if you have it as genetic push-ups, you're still get the same result. There's some really huge guys in there, and their diet are that you have people on the outside, like, you got to do that. And while that has some benefits, and how in some cases it can actually slow down the weight gain. longer. Prisoners are a good example that that's not entirely true because they're not in a position to go, you know what? Let me mix up this protein shake real quick. I need 50 more grams of protein and 100 more grams of carbs. They can't do that. All they can do is eat what they give them and then maybe fuel them depending on their circumstances. Every once in a while, they can have access to protein powders and things like that. But even that is inconsistent in a way that, say myself, I can just go to the store right now and get exactly what I want and I can get exactly that. Your body to adapt to your circumstances. When your body needs the glycogen and the muscles replenished, it will take from whatever food you give it, and then it will respond to your physical stress. You were talking about there's an environment where there are lots of men in there. They're all in there for different reasons. It's survival of the fittest. Their environment allows for extremely high testosterone levels that allows them to build muscle and to build it quicker than say the average Joe that is stressed out by his job and his family and things of that sort. Their testosterone levels are a lot lower. So on top of the willpower and the genetics, you also have environmental circumstances that make up the difference as well.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but that's a good point. That's a very good point. Um, Trying to think. Anything else you want to talk about? It's been very, very slow for us. Oh yeah, I know. I did saw watching the last episode of The Flash,
Okay.
um, where they're able to defeat the Reverse Flash, and now they're in the process of creating their artificial Speed Force. So I'm interested on how
Okay.
they're going to do that. Um, I don't think was there one this past Tuesday. I didn't. I don't think I missed it. I think I caught up.
No. They're on a short break. In terms of like Flash and Supergirl and Batwoman, they still have to film a few more of their episodes. Are not quite done. Legends of Tomorrow is in a different position because they actually filmed their entire season. Now it's just the way that they stretch out and the way of when Legends decides to air in connection to the rest of the Arrowverse shows, they're allowed more time to work on it because of the placement. So Legends is fine. It's the rest that have to finish up. But Flash is one of those shows to where the coronavirus has definitely affected the whole production and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They do have to wait. So it's either going to be that they, depending on how long it takes, they'll get back to work as soon as humanly possible. But if not, then what they're going to end up doing is just saying that the last episode you saw was the season finale, and they will begin working on the new season ahead of what they originally planned. But whatever it goes into the
Well, that
beginning
wasn't
of
even a cliffhanger. You talking about this
that's right.
last episode we saw?
Right. Yeah, that's true, and that is something that a lot of humans will bring up. That okay, what about with certain shows if the nature of it was not a cliffhanger? What if it felt like a regular show? And it's like, well, there's not much they can do about that if
Yeah.
they had to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. I
So
understand. Yeah, I'm getting a little bored with that mirror universe because I'm like, well, okay, what is your damn okay? What you trying to get? What you trying to make? What you trying to do? Then how is she controlling them people? Because like she has control of whoever she shoots back out into the mirrorverse. They got to do whatever she says. I don't. I'm not understanding that connection yet either. But
um,
I'm getting
it
tired of that story. I don't even know who she is. I've never seen her in the comic book. I mean, I don't.
yeah, like I hope it's not a because remember I told you Mirror Master should be coming.
You ready to
It's
be a
like
female mirror master? You think?
I
Or
I hope that she is not what that character is supposed to be because that'd be irritating. I'm like, you have made this character incredibly boring and
oh
useless.
god, oh god,
You
she's
know,
boring. She is
yeah.
boring.
So that would be unfortunate that the epic appearance of a villain as cool as Mirror Master that has frustrated Batman at one point has been reduced to a very boring female character. I'm like, that'd be unfortunate. So I hope that that's not the case. But either way, um, like her. and the whole iris thing, the mirror dimension, it is rather uh, boring to me. Like there's only slight interest because again, I think that something might come, but then again, I kind of recently canceled it out because they said that well, Godspeed is going to be he's going to have his own arc before the season is over, and I'm like, well, Mirror Master is not someone that you bring in like 20 minutes and then he's gone.
No,
Like he
because
deserves. Yeah,
if she is Mirror Master, this is going to be the second villain of the season. So I
right.
mean, they're going to have three villains in one season. I've never seen them done that before. You usually have
Right.
like the second tier villain or the kind of low class villain, and they'll bump it up because that blood work, whatever he was, it's getting a little boring to me the storyline. And then his when he mutated into that creature, that CGI was awful.
I mean, I like that they made him look like how he does in the comics. I know that their budget was a little bit strained with that, but I would much rather have Bloodwork still be here than the boring chick in the mirror dimension.
Yeah, yeah, she is
And
pretty
and
boring.
and also,
I don't
let's
like
just say,
I don't like the Iris, the bad Iris either. I don't like her. I,
yeah, no, definitely not. Like it, because at least with Bloodwork, he affected the main characters, and he could have affected the whole world. He did the city for a little while,
uh-huh.
as to where if that is Mirror Master or some kind of jumbled version of what he's supposed to be, or if she's supposed to be like, hey, I'm here before him, you can wait till my boss shows up or whatever, she hasn't really affected anyone. It's like, okay, you got the bad Iris out there, but they haven't really done anything significant to where it
No,
affects the entire Team Flash. This has been nothing more than us as an audience. We know that this is a problem, but the other characters haven't been affected in any way. Barry was still dealing with Grodd. They handled that. They handled the whole reverse flash thing without Iris or the chick in the mirror getting involved. Like nothing was affected by them
I'm
at
telling you,
all.
man, they show up pay dirt with the Reverse Flash. Every time he's on there, man, he instantly makes the show to me better, more interesting. The guy that plays all the different Harrisons, he is fantastic. Play those different Harrisons and bring a different personality to each one.
Yeah,
I really like him. As Reverse Flash, he is hell.
yeah, yeah. I mean, now that you mention it, like he's one of those rare actors because his job description was very difficult. That you're going to be playing this character, and that you're going to play a character that looks like him. You're going to be the main villain of the Flash show for a while, and when you're not the focus, you're always going to be in the background. But then
Mm,
we're also going to do multiverse elements where you're going to play characters that look like each other, but they all have to have
a
their
different
different
person.
personalities, and you have to convince the audience that even though they see you, that you're not that other character that they
And
know you look like.
he is knocking it out the park.
Exactly. So, um, any sort of parallel that I'd be able to make would be Liv Tyler. She's an actress that she was the main star of the show I Zombie that recently finished its series finale. Like every episode, she was a different character because her character um, takes on the personality and the skills of whatever brain that she eats. So that
Mhm.
role literally called for her to be different people for 5 years. And I'm like, that's one of the most difficult roles I've ever seen. Talk
Yeah,
about, somebody having 30 personalities. So imagine doing that for 5 years and you have to, get uh, your voice box adjusted, if you will, pick up the lingo, and you really have to become all these people that you've eaten. So I think that her and the actor we just mentioned are some of the few where their acting has to be very good in order to convince people of all these different characters. It's not like you're just playing the one character, which comes with its challenges. But imagine every day you're showing up, they're like, hey, this is what you're going to do. Okay, no, now today you're going to do this. It's like whatever preparation that you had only lasts as long as till you're done shooting that particular episode.
yeah, it's very challenging. So I'm glad she's knocking it out of the park. Uh, chat. We are open to any and all questions now. There have been a few questions and we answered them as we went along. But right now, I want to open this up. Any questions you want to put in? please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer them. Any topics you want to discuss, we'll try to discuss them. We've only been on for 1 hour and 5 minutes. We'll try and give us another hour, but I have to be somewhere around about 8. So, um, just trying to think.
Um, I wanted to say something because it was a past comment from Mads. Like she had expressed that she thought the movie was bad, and anyone that's a fan of something, if they don't like it, then
She must be talking
uh,
about what you call it, the Last Airbender. I think that's what she was referring to. You're on. If you can hear me, you're on. You got your mic muted. Your mic is muted, Terrence.
sorry about that, Danny. But I was saying that when someone is a fan of something that they can say, okay, this is bad, and I would understand it. But the way that I go about it is, if I'm a fan of something, I have two different scores because I like to be, fair. I don't want to be biased in any sort of way, and most humans they do that. It's not a crime, but it makes it hard for me to trust their opinion if they're biased. Like I was talking to my friend's father about the TV show Star Trek Picard, and
Mm-hmm.
while we both are Star Trek fans, he appreciated the show more than I did. I didn't like certain storytelling points that they did and how they blatantly ignored stuff that was set up by Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like it was a taste issue with me. Like I appreciated certain moments in it, but I did not enjoy the show overall. And I said that as a show, if I divorce myself from the Star Trek fandom, like this is okay. It's kind of mediocre. But as a Star Trek show, I'm like man, this is kind of disrespectful when I break it down. They're treating us as if we haven't seen other Star Trek material. So I had to give it two different scores in a way, like because when you're a fan of something, it will be very easy and quick to go, okay, this is trash because they didn't do what I wanted. But it's like, okay, well, if you're asked to step outside of that and look at it from a movie standpoint, how is the movie? And very few will answer in a way that I would, that the movie is not necessarily bad because it's not accurate. But like I told you though, I thought Last Airbender was a mediocre movie. I've seen movies worse than that. I would say Dragon Ball Evolution is infinitely worse than that
Most, most definitely.
at least with the Last Airbender, I was able to look at it and go, "Oh, this is what they're doing." With Dragon Ball Evolution, if you didn't tell me the title of that movie, I would have no idea that's what I was watching until they said a name.
Man, it didn't even look like Go. The only thing that was accurate was Piccolo. He looked like Piccolo, but when he turned to the Zaru monkey, it looked like somebody in a monkey suit. I mean, an actual old gorilla suit. What it looked like to me, it did not even look
Yeah,
anything like you see back here.
yeah,
Uh,
it didn't look like no great ape or nothing like
no,
no great Saiyan ape. It looked, man, the apes in Planet of the Apes look more intimidating than
exactly,
that one in the Dragon
exactly,
Ball. Like looks
exactly.
bad.
I don't know what that was. It pissed me off. And Disney has it now, so I don't know why. I hope they'll sit on it until they're actually ready to truly do it justice. Because to me, it's just too good of a series, too good of a show to not just give it 100%. And
Right.
we have the actors now, we have the technology, we have the choreographers that could do wonders with Dragon Ball.
Well,
I
I mean, at the
go ahead.
time that they were making that movie, though, Danny, like they had the technology to do it. It's just they're
Not like they do now. I
well,
mean, now there's no. I mean, there is no excuses at all. That
well,
movie was what? When did that movie come out?
ooh, I want to say early 2000s, maybe something like that. Like, but and if you look at what the characters entail, the effects, even for back then, are not complicated. All you have to do is show the power aura, you show the beams, you You have mountains being destroyed. I've seen that done in other movies that came out that time that have nothing to do with Dragon Ball. In fact, the Matrix Revolutions, the third Matrix movie was very Dragon Ball Z esque at the end when Smith fought Neo, and when they were in the
Yeah,
sky and
yeah.
they were fighting in the rain.
Yeah. If they would have done it like that, but it's those Chinese brothers. I forgot who did that.
Yeah, the
Um,
Wachowskis.
yeah. If they would have
So
done that, I'd have been happy. 'Cause there is a Chinese movie. What's it called? It had the Sword Saint, and this one guy was named Rain, and the other guy was Wind, if I'm not mistaken. God, what's the name of that movie? And
is it a martial arts movie?
it's a martial arts movie, but each martial one it was three martial arts. One could control the wind, one could control the water, and I think one could control fire. And this guy,
Oh, yeah.
um, and there was a Soul Saint, not Soul Saint. This it was this priest that gave the guy a prophecy that he would be have a long life, be prosperous until if these two warriors ever combined, then they could take down his dynasty and stuff. And it was a Chinese movie, but it was awesome.
But
I can't think of the name.
here's the thing that's odd. Number one, like Goku in the context of Dragon Ball, he looked like a regular white dude that I would see at my school when I go to high school. Like
Hmm.
okay, you none of the characters looked physically imposing. None of them look like anything. Like Dragon Ball Z characters, the majority of them, especially the fighters, they all have some sort of muscularity to them. You know, you got
Hmm.
different sizes, different amounts of definition, but they in no way look like most people. Like when you go to the grocery store, a lot of times you just see regular people. Like they're supposed to stand out, because of the way they carry themselves. They're not supposed to, like how they had Goku going to school. I'm like, that wasn't a thing. And then him wanting to be with Chi Chi, Chi Chi forced herself onto Goku, and then he ended up loving her later. But in the movie, they just made him a typical dude that pines after a female at his school. I'm like, that's not how you treat the Z fighters, because a lot of them, they didn't care about women that way. Like, you look at Goku and Vegeta, it was all about training. That stuff came way later. And then the rest of the characters, it was the same thing. But they made the characters in a way that they felt the audience would be able to connect with them. And I'm
Hmm.
like, most people watching Dragon Ball don't even train. They don't care about mental discipline and willpower and honor. They're just regular ass human beings. These
Yeah.
characters, there's nothing regular about them. Their whole entire life is based around training and fighting monsters and preventing the planet from exploding. I'm like, regular people cannot compare to that, especially people that don't spend their lives training. How would they? That's a mistake. So I felt like them normalizing the characters was a huge mistake from a creative standpoint. I'm like, there's no way that you're going to get the fans to like this because it's too left field. You've taken away everything that made those characters special.
Yep. The name of that movie was called Storm Riders. I don't know if you ever seen it.
The way you described it sounds familiar. I'm not entirely sure, but that does sound familiar. Like if I haven't seen that one specifically, I've seen something very similar to it.
Let's see if I can pull it up. My brother put me. I watched this thing probably about 30 times. Man, it is awesome.
In fact, that sounds like a recent series called Wu Assassin that was on Netflix, and
Storm Riders came out when I'm trying to figure.
it, it's uh it's about it's the guy that was the star of the Raid movies, the Raid 1 and 2. Like I told you, when it comes to martial art fight scenes, very few come close to the fighting in the Raid movies. And the guy that's the star of that, he's in the show Wu Assassins, and what he is, he's a chef, and he gets bestowed these powers to where he has to take out the Wu, and the Wu are individuals that can control fire, water, earth, metal, things like that. And if they come together, it's like on the whole, the world will be destroyed kind of scenario. So the Wu assassin is there to take out the Wu so they don't use their powers destroy the Earth, because a lot of the people that get the Wu powers are not nice people. They're very much wanting power and control, and most of them do have some kind of power to some degree. Like whenever you come across the Wu, they're far from just the person that you can go outside and see when you go to your mailbox. These are exceptional people in the way that they either their status or the way that they think, and then you can see why, as it's bad that they have that kind of power, and you want to get that away from them as soon as possible. That is the job of the Wu assassin.
Gotcha. See if I can pull it up. Storm Riders came out 1990.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like something I've seen, but because when it comes to these oh, by Golden Harvest, yep. Okay.
Yeah. Is this the whole movie? I don't want to see the whole movie. I just want a clip. Oh Lord, it's the whole movie. No, nope. But those fight scenes in there, man, God, you probably already seen it, like you said. But if you get a chance to check out that movie,
Like it
it is awesome.
when you see the raid 1 and 2, you get back to me and you tell me about those fight scenes, because like I said, like to me, the best fight scenes that I've ever seen come from Asian martial arts movies. No
Yep,
American stuff. The best stuff I've seen is from Asia. Period, bar none.
I
Especially
agree.
especially like the raid movies. Like man, if you
I
see
don't know
some of them
now.
stunts,
The undisputed fight scenes are awesome too.
those are cool. Like in terms of flashiness and stuff. But when it comes to whether it be flash or even realistic fight scenes, like the way that these stuntmen are willing to get hurt to make a scene look better. Like, because in America, you can't do that. You hurt somebody, you're getting sued. That's the difference. Like in Asia, whether it be a Chinese martial arts film, a Japanese, or from Thailand or wherever, they're very big on we're going to sacrifice ourselves for making possibly the best fight scene that you've ever seen. They all go in there with that kind of passion, and that's part of the reason why the best fight scenes come from there. You look at what Bruce Lee was able to do. You look at Donnie Yen or Jackie Chan or Sammo Hung or any of the stuff or any of the inventive stuff that they were able to do, that a lot of the Americans just simply tried to copy, because at one point, the martial arts movies were like the big thing until they kind of fell off, and it's now more of certain people seek them out, so they're never going to go away. But at one point, you have like 3, 4 of those coming out in the theater in the same weekend. That's how big it was back then. So I look at Chuck Norris and Van Damme and Seagal and them. They all have their awesome fight scenes. But if I show you like some of the stuff in the Raid movies, man, those fight scenes don't even come close. Not close.
Uh, oh, you went down to one viewer. That's not good. Um, trying to think of some other. Like I said, man, I've been looking all week, but these topics have just not been. There's been nothing going on in the news other than this virus, and I
Hmm.
am definitely hoping what you said about it lasting in a couple months it'll be over with. That's music to my ears. I'm hoping by May we'll be on the back end of this thing. But
Well, Trump recently said that it should be done by Easter. That's what
no,
he said. But
I don't
you
think it's
know,
gonna be that soon. We'll
well,
see.
yeah, like a lot of people said that, but even right now, like on CNN, they're just like, yeah, they're expected to have things back by Easter, or even, or as it says at the bottom, because on the top it says Easter, and then if everything goes well, then by April 12th, right, which would be before that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see this going all the way until like
I'm think
September or
I'm think.
October. Like,
No, I don't see that far, but I'm seeing May, bro. I'm seeing May.
probably, probably. I mean,
But
I'm no expert on this, so I don't know, but I'm
yeah,
just only from what the humans are saying. They're
I
very
got you.
confident about the
Yeah.
whole April scenario, but we'll see.
Yeah. We've got where I work at, we got shifts like I'm off on Mondays and Tuesdays. Can't go into the office, work from home, and Wednesday and Thursday, three more guys in my positions will be off, and then Friday, three more will be off, and then we rotate. But it keeps the command staff element of the department from ever having contact with each other. So if one gets it, then it won't. We all won't get it. So I like that strategy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess humans have to use whatever strategy they want. I mean, my mom and dad, they keep freaking out about it, and I'm just like, I'm like, I don't care. Just let me know when the movies open back up. Like, you know, um,
uh,
I'm just. They're like, yeah, but it's sad and all. I'm like, it's not sad to me. I'm like,
it, it's sad. I mean, I, if people would just practice social distancing for a small time, and I mean really practice it. Don't go out unless you have to. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Try not to congregate. I really think this thing won't have anything to latch on to, and we get there faster. But if you kind of being like the hell with it, and do do stuff recklessly, then I think that's going to prolong the situation. That's all I'm saying.
that's exactly what they've been saying. But out of all the times that I've been out for specific reasons, whether it be if I'm going straight to my garage, because that's where my gym is. I never liked going to gyms, so I made sure to have weights and a pull-up bar and things like that at the house. But if I'm going to go to the park or to the store, I don't wear like a mask or anything because I
I
just
mean, I
don't
don't
care.
wear a mask either because hell, you can't hardly find them. I went on eBay. I'm not eBay, but Amazon last week looking for a particular thing based on a second job, and I just want to be. I want to eat. I want to have comfort for myself, and I also want to ease the customer's mind by having particular respirator mask and gloves on. But shoot, the closest date they can deliver is like May 15th. That's all.
Oh
That's
shoot,
over a month. Yeah,
that
Amazon is.
that could be by the time it's over,
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. So I'm agreeing with what Jason said. New York is getting hammered. New York and parts of California is ground zero. So
Um, I'm gonna say this because like whenever I conduct myself in life, I don't like it. Like I've heard humans say like, okay, well, I'm gonna wear it for the comfortability of others. Danny, when I went to the store, I didn't have a mask on, no gloves. I didn't care what any of the humans were doing. I was there for a specific reason, like, okay, I'm gonna get this food, I'm gonna get this protein powder, whatever. And I never thought about any of those humans around me once. Because I'm like, look, if I'm gonna get it, then I'm gonna get it. But last time I checked, the coronavirus, it don't want none of me. So it better deal with them humans, because I ain't playing like that.
I got you. Well, a lot of people aren't as healthy as you are. So you got underlying issues, and just be careful. Is all I'm saying. If you're a certain age, you have underlying issues. Just be careful. So
That
I'm out in the I'm interacting with a lot more people out in the public than sometimes I want to be. But it's what I signed up for. I take the responsibility, but I'm worrying more so about what I'm gonna bring back to my house. I got two small grandchildren, a daughter and a wife, so I want to make sure I'm extra precautionary. Because one thing if it's just you, but if you got a family, then you don't want that on your conscience that you brought something back and they got sick. So when I come home,
that
I'll just take my shoes off and I wash my hands immediately. And depending on where I've been at, I'll wash my clothes immediately. just to help as another layer of protection because I don't want to bring anything back to them. That would hurt me more than me getting it myself.
See, see, like my friend's grandma this morning, she was in the loop of the conversation when I was talking to my friend, and she's like, "Terrence, guess what happened?" I'm like, "What happened?" She was like, "Over 30,000 deaths due to this coronavirus," and I'm like, I don't care. You want to talk about anything else?" And she like first it was quiet, and then she was like, "Oh my God, those are lives, human lives." I'm like, "Exactly. That's why I don't care." Like,
Well,
and she couldn't fathom it. She was like, "Okay, so what about if your friend got it?" I'm like, "Oh, that'd be different. That's my boy. Like, I don't want
right.
nothing to happen to him. But if Bobby told him gets it, I'm like, oh well, good luck to Bobby told him."
Well, to each his own. That's all I'm gonna say. To each his own on that. Um, I just don't want. It's depressed when I even talk about this thing. So let's just change the subject. It depresses me to a point because I'm just gonna end. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Anybody out there that can hear this, be careful. Don't take any extra um, chances of doing anything crazy that if you don't have to do it.
I'm gonna do
Just
something
my
about that,
advice.
Danny, because I got this idea from Jim Carrey's show Kidding, because he's like in the context of that show, he's a guy that has
Hmm.
this very popular puppet show that is loved around the world. Like kids love him everywhere. Their parents love him because of how happy he makes their kids, kind of stuff. And he came up with this device where you can touch it like the button, and it goes to him directly. And if you need to talk to him, or you need to ask him questions, or you need him to comfort you, you can reach him directly through that device, right?
Damn.
So I'm like, that's pretty dope. Like, imagine that. Like, you like, man, I want to talk to Mr. Pickles, and you just hit that button, and obviously everybody can't do it at once. You might have to wait if a lot of people thought at that moment in time they wanted to do the same thing, but he's always going to get back to you, kind of stuff. I'm like, that's dope. I was thinking that I could do the same thing, but it can be like a Terrence drone, and what you do is you yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I was making sure we didn't go out. Like, but you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I was thinking, you got the Terrence drone, and you press the button, and then you could talk to me directly anytime humans are out there acting crazy and stuff. To be like, man, what would Terrence do? But then again, no, I feel like because of my honesty, it might make a lot of people sad or angry, the stuff I would say. So, maybe that wouldn't be as welcoming as Jim Carrey's character on Kidding, because he's a lot friendlier, and he talks about love and happiness and all that kind of shit. But maybe it's not as good as I'm trying to make it sound.
Mm.
But at the same time, though, I'm thinking if there's a possibility that the humans would listen, that it would end up making them stronger if they take some of the things I have to say in suggestion. Because once you get past the emotional side, the stuff I'm saying is not wrong in a sense of how one should be mentally strong, and you have to be strong for those around you. Because if everybody in the room is weak, there's no room for strength. Where do you get the strength from if everybody's doing the same thing?
That makes sense. I see some method to your madness.
Yeah, but what the way you said that, I'm picturing there being a room full of superheroes and they got the arms crossed. They're like, man, I don't like this Terrence guy, but he's
Oh
making
no.
some sense here. I mean,
I mean,
like,
I think that statement you made about if there's no everything weak, where's the room for strength? I mean, that makes sense. I can see that. But at the same time, though, no matter how mentally strong or how physically strong you are, there comes a time when you got to temper that with common sense and compassion. So,
yeah, that is also very much what a superhero would say, and I'd be like, look, I'm going to temper this within reason. If I see humans messing up, I gotta let them know. And compassion, I'm like, compassion ain't gonna stop this coronavirus. Like, I'm just saying, like, I could be out there with the box of tissues, like, here, let me help you. Oh, young man, are you lonely? Scene transition, he still dies, no matter how nice I was
how
to him.
about if you're a
So,
superhero? Let's say you're the Flash, and you're able to use your super speed to get him to the hospital faster than a normal ambulance would, and he's able to get the medicine quicker, and it saves his life. Wouldn't that be worth the effort?
um, I personally wouldn't be doing that because I'm not like I mean I like superheroes and I respect how courageous they are and
So
I'd be
you
one of
you
those
the
guys.
anti-hero. You the anti-hero. That's what you are.
Well, here's the thing: anti-heroes they still go out of their way to help people because their whole thing is there's a bad guy, I'm gonna kill him, sure, and but they still want the safety of others. For me, it's very different because to a large degree I don't like humans, so I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to do things to make them safer. But there are different nooks and crannies and exceptions as to where I will look out for the few I care about if for whatever reason, if I'm seeing or hearing something that just irritates the shit out of me, I might want to stop it. It's kind of like
Okay.
let's use Godzilla for example, right? Like I've heard
So,
humans say stuff like he's considered a chaotic neutral, which means that he ends up helping by accident. Like, he's
mhm.
walking along like, damn, I'm pretty hungry. I think I'll eat a building today to satisfy my appetite. But then lo and behold, Mecha Godzilla comes up stomping up like he owns the planet and shit. And then Godzilla's like, nope, negative, and he just like beats the hell out of him. And then a bunch of humans like, yeah, Godzilla saved us. And it's like he didn't just look to the humans and go, okay, humans, I'm gonna save you today. Everybody stand back. I'm the hero. It was Mecha Godzilla got up in his face and he had to backhand him real quick. So
Okay. I,
that's more or less of
I get
what
that
would happen
example.
with me. Yeah.
Let me use this example. You consider yourself highly intelligent, correct?
Yes. I would say so. There's some humans out there that can
I'm
definitely trump
asking
me.
you. I'm asking you for your opinion.
Okay.
And let's say yes, right?
Yes, I do
Okay.
consider myself
Is
fairly
it is
intelligent.
it highly intelligent to judge the majority of humans you interact with because a certain few treated you like shit?
Oh,
Is it intelligent to put the majority of the human race in that fuck you boat?
well, here's the thing though. Like my opinion on humans has nothing to do with my own personal experiences. This comes from me analyzing the species as a whole, which I've been doing since I was a kid. Like it became very apparent to me that whenever I was around people, there were extreme differences between me and them, and a lot of stuff they were doing and saying, even when it wasn't happening to me, I'm just like, this behavior is bad. And then you look into human history, there is a pattern of disgusting behavior and choices that these people make, and they use emotions and certain positions to justify their fucked up behavior. And history has repeated itself over and over in different ways, some subtle, some not. So because of my own experiences, it's like, sure, I've been able to face the ugliness head on, but there's also a lot of stuff that I haven't dealt with that I've heard and read about or that humans have talked to me about, and there always seems to be a pattern. You have humans that are doing or saying so much, and then you have the ones that don't do anything, which can arguably be worse in certain positions. Like sometimes it's not so much that this person has to go out and shoot and stab and kill, but their words can be just as devastating as any bullet or possibly more so. Like imagine if someone said something to someone and maybe that caused them to snap. Like I could argue that that's so much worse than you say shooting them in the kneecap and then they have to spend a small amount of time in painful recovery, but ultimately they'll be just fine. But maybe you saying the wrong thing triggered something in their brain. Like that happens all the time. It doesn't necessarily equate to violence, but it could be very destructive for that person's life. While they're not necessarily causing suffering to others, their whole entire life is full of suffering to the point to where they're either waiting to die or they try to off themselves. Like there is a pattern here. And usually the ones that aren't doing anything are the ones quick to say that things are wrong, but they do nothing to make the world better. So a lot of humans are very selfish and greedy and emotional, and their political and religious views drive a wedge between all of them. And when you ask them certain questions, I guarantee you they're going to give a very typical answer. Like if I were to write down the possibility of responses, it's going to fall within somewhere on my list. It's very rare that I've been surprised with humans that I've interacted with. They've all have exhibited the same kind of behavior or same kind of thoughts. and usually it's connected to emotions. There's a lot of bitterness
But
that
that's not
leads.
always a bad thing. Same way that you see and point out the negative responses, there got to be the equal response in the positive. You can't have one without the other.
Now, granted, not all humans are bad. There are some good ones out there, but the key word is some, because
Okay.
the ones that are not inherently doing bad things, they're thinking bad things, so they don't help. If you were to look at the situation of the world, so many things would be impossible if humans actually cared about each other beyond what they're willing to say on a daily basis, and their actions do not follow that. And then if you look at, this is not applying to you, I'm just throwing this out there. For instance, you look at like, cops and firefighters and military personnel and so on. If someone in power were to say tomorrow that you will no longer be paid for your services, I guarantee you there will be a fair number of them that quit instantly, because a lot of them, they have families, they're trying to go to college. Money is a very big incentive to get humans to do stuff, which is why that saying, everyone has a price, comes into play. A lot of humans, they won't do a number of things, but as soon as you put the right amount on it, if they don't do it, more than likely they'll think about it before they tell you no. It won't be instant anymore if there's a little cash incentive. So that would be a situation where you find out how many humans actually want to help others and how many are there for a cash incentive when you take that away from them. And that's something that a lot of people have to think about. Would you be there if you were not making money? A lot of them would probably say no, unless they tell you, oh, I really, really love this. Money is not the issue, but they are working for money. You have to make money on this planet in order to
To,
live
to,
and
that's
provide
right.
for your family if you have that. So a lot of them would walk away to try to pursue something that will give them the cash incentive. So like a lot of humans are very predictable in their behavior. And even if,
Yeah, but
again,
that's not always a bad thing because in order for you to help some people, sometimes you gotta get yourself in a position where you can do it. Just like, for instance, I always preach to young kids or younger people that's trying to get into the workforce. Um, Everybody talks about individuality and all this kind of stuff, and I have no problem with that. I mean, whatever floats your boat, floats your boat. But until I guess not the millennials, but um, the baby boomers and my generation, which is Generation X, die out. We were raised in a certain time, and if you come to an interview, I can tell you right now, in my position, I interview a lot of people. If you come there looking a certain way, I don't care how sharp you are, that's going you're gonna get dinged on. If you come in there, jeans and flip flops and or golf shirt or whatever, and there's been some people that come to interview like that because they just think it's not how I look, it's what I know, and that's to a certain extent. But you got to get your foot in the door before you can act yourself or express your individuality. And a lot of people, in my opinion, don't do that sometimes. They think just because they get a PhD or a master's or whatever the case may be, or they know this and they know that, you gotta you can do what you want to do. I'm not of that mindset. I'm of the mindset that I was done a certain way when I was a lesser ranked officer, and I made up my mind back then. I will not be an asshole. I will not be someone that people that work under me will hate to come to work or hate to approach because they don't know how I'm going to be. I preach three things. I'm always fair, I'm firm, and I'm consistent in my position. And that is because there were buttholes, like you said, or people that had the power and, in my opinion, didn't know how to use it. Now that I've attained some of the power, I'm trying to use it for good. Um, I went to a leadership class years ago, and it stuck in my mind. If you want to make change, you got to go through the ranks, get promoted, and make the changes yourself. I'm just currently in that position now.
Here's the thing that I have to go back to, because this was kind of tackled in a previous conversation. If
Okay.
for if for the slightest moment, if I were to translate my experiences on everyone, there is no way that you and I would be friends. That is a I'm not saying you were thinking that, but that is often a common misconception about me because
Hmm.
there's no way that I would have friends, which I have a lot of friends, a lot of which
Hmm.
that I don't talk to because I just prefer to keep to myself. But I've made a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends. You and I met on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no way that I would be open to any of this if my entire view was that every single human being falls into this. There would be no reason at all as to why I would give anyone a chance for any reason.
I got you.
And
I
and
understand.
and
I understand that.
and my whole thing is that I don't like humans. A lot of it has to do with not only of course you have like some of my experiences in there, but I've spent 17 years studying human beings. Like a lot of people, they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, because they're so inherently different from me. Like I find myself often disagreeing with them. I'm not talking about trivial stuff. I'm talking about the way that one carries himself in life, the way that they think, and the emotions and stuff. I'm like, a lot of that stuff doesn't matter to me, nor do I feel it.
Okay.
So
But
I
what does it mean if you don't like what you are?
well, here's the thing. Like, I've said before that, unfortunately, I'm a human myself. I'm not proud of that because I still believe that, as I have believed since I was a kid, that human beings are the worst species in existence. Because when you compare them to everything else that we are aware of, the things that they do are completely illogical. Like you have humans that get mad because somebody said that they like this person better than them. They have bitterness in their heart. You get killed because you're wearing the wrong color or because you have a certain point of view, or this person decided to snap, so they shoot up a grocery store. They attack each other. They cheat on each other. The divorce rates are over 65%, which tells you that a lot of humans don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they want. It's based on emotion, which is illogical anyway, and it's very hard to distinguish what's real and what's not because humans flip flop a lot like a fish out of water. That's the majority of humans. They're very backpedally. They refrain their actual thoughts and feelings. They tend to reveal the truth when they are upset or drunk or when their backs are against the wall, which shows to me that the person is fake because you should not be under pressure or under influence to tell or reveal the truth. That
That's
should
not
come
that.
naturally.
That's not always true because there's a saying: just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. I
And
think if
and and
I think if something is life and death, then of course. But if something that's not life and death, and it would spare the person's feeling that you really care about or give a damn about, and it's not going to hurt them one way or the other, then why be truthful if you know if the result is only going to be pain?
because like for me, like I hear what you're saying, but like I don't spare those expenses because okay, like this is what happened one time.
Yeah.
There's many examples that I can go into, but like if someone asks me, like, man, like Terrence, what do you think about my singing skills? I'm gonna go on the show, do whatever, and then I'm like, I hear it, and I'm like, you're not that good or you're mediocre.
Oh,
Like
now I'm with you on that. I'm with you on
right,
that.
like but that's just one of the examples. Like what I'm trying to tell you is that I don't care if I'm talking to Tremaine or the president or God himself. Like if they're asking me something, naturally how I operate with no effort is to be truthful. Now humans will say that that's blunt or hurtful. I don't believe in those expressions because I'm like, you either tell the truth or you're a liar.
Oh,
And if you
no,
spare if you spare someone's feelings
I
because
agree
you're
with
not
you.
telling them.
I don't mean to cut you off. I agree with you on what you're saying. If you are asked something direct, that's a horse of a different color. But if someone, it could be a rhetorical question. You don't have to always answer a rhetorical question, or you don't have to always. Oh, how can I word this? There's a couple particular YouTubers I don't particularly care for because our personalities just don't jive. We've been
Okay.
on, and before I'm going rude and be like, man, and some of the stuff the individual said I thought was dumb as hell. And just, I'm seeing black. I say it's wrong. He says, all right. and I just don't. We just don't click. Our personalities, our thought process, our heritage, whatever, it ain't clicking. So I don't go on the shows anymore. Now, could I could I tell a man, look, what you saying is dumb as hell. Um, you can't sing worth a damn. I could say that, but ain't no need to say that. So my view is, look, I don't go on that person's show. Um, if they ask me out, I'm busy. I'm doing something else, or I can't make it. Whatever. That's what I'm saying. Now, if I am confronted or pushed or asked directly, then hell yeah, I must no. I don't really care for that. No, you sound like you need 1,000 more singing lessons, or you need to shut the fuck up. What I would like to say, but I'm not asked that, so I don't have to voluntarily tell that individual. And it's just not worth the confrontation. It's not worth my time. I mean, you see what I'm saying?
I do, and everything you said makes perfect sense completely, not a little bit, entirely. And I have heard that my entire life, and my response has been the same. Like sometimes the words will be different, but more or less the same when I say, I because I don't feel embarrassment and I don't care to impress others or what they think of me, it allows me to move through this planet without any sort of restraints because none
Mm-hmm.
of those things matter. I can tell someone something and they either like it or they don't. I'm like, I don't need you to like me. And I don't even really need you to respect me because if I see that you don't, then I don't have to interact with you anymore. As long as you don't try to do anything physical, I won't send you to Jesus early. You know what I'm saying? Like ain't gonna be none of that. So, like if they're just gonna to, say stuff and go out of their way to disrespect me, I'm like, okay, these humans are dumb as hell, and it would be my fault to continuously be around them. That's fine. But at the same time, I'm like, look, these humans are going to know how I operate. And if they don't, then it just means that they're refusing to accept the consistency that is Terrence. There is something that is inherently consistent about me in all scenarios that has been for the last 17 years for those that have been exposed to me for that long. Like, I don't care. I'm like, look, I'm going to tell you, and if you don't like it, then the human probably shouldn't interact with me. I don't believe in sugarcoating or making someone feel better. And I've also had humans go, well, how would you feel if that's happened to you? Well, that's happened my entire life, so that means absolutely nothing. At one point, when I was a child, of course, I didn't like that, and it upset me because I didn't know why it was happening, especially since I did not go out of my way to harm anybody, and it seemed like humans were putting in effort to do that to me, whether it be friends, whether it be someone I've never even met. They could have seen me for the first time and it happens. So I'm like, this whole what if that happened to you with a lot of stuff, it has. And it's happened a bunch of times and it's either still here or it just recently left. Like, the whole grabbing me and shoving me against lockers and stuff like that, that doesn't happen anymore because odds are if somebody tried that, I would just snap them in two unless they just happen to be, superior than me in strength and in fighting and stuff like that, which is that's out there. I'm not the baddest dude on the planet, but I'm just saying there's certain things that won't work in the way that they used to. Like
Yeah.
instead of like when humans say stuff to me now, because I've heard it so many times, you get the whole, oh, here we go again. It's like all these humans gather in a room and they discuss the same set of notes and stuff to do and say to me. I'm just like, because it's never any different. A lot of times I say stuff like, I've heard that before, come up with something new, and it's the same stuff. And I'm just like, when I have 10 humans in a room and I ask them the same questions. Sometimes I've even had my friends sit in a situation with me and I've conducted my little experiments. I would, put out a series of questions and I'd ask them and in advance I would tell my friend, I guarantee you they're not going to say anything I haven't heard. They're going to say this or that. And the majority of the time that's exactly what happens. Whether that be the first response or they eventually get to it when they understand that they shouldn't lie to me and they should just tell me how it is because they don't owe me anything. I don't matter to them. I'm just a regular, average nobody. So they don't need to put on a front for me. They shouldn't care about me at all. So that's what I'm saying. Like my mom, my dad, my entire family, my brother, my friends, like they tend to give me like a lot of the same responses. They all have their political views, they have their religions, there are things that they would do that I would never even consider. Like it's not even an option. Like like how when you play certain video games and you see that there is an option but it's blacked out and you can't select it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's me. Like I can see it, but that wouldn't. No, that's like man, man. You can't even do that, and it's because of the rules that I have placed on myself. Like I only operate within the confines of what I believe to be right. Whether that falls into actual human laws and religions is a whole other thing. But if I don't agree with something, I don't conduct it for my life. I'm like, no, that's not a Terrence rule. That doesn't mean I don't respect it, but it's like if I don't believe in it from my perspective, then it doesn't matter. They'll say, well, you can't do that. It's against the law, or this religion would be mad. Like none of that matters to me if it's not part of my rules. I'm just like the whole you shouldn't murder people. I'm like, well, I don't go out there and do that kind of stuff, but at the same time, I'm very big on if I feel the need to do that because my life is threatened or whatever it is, it's very different. I have these exceptions and stuff, and even then, I'm like, that's not really murder so much as it is self defense. But this whole, well, you'll see, Terrence, it's going to be hard to take their life. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, if I absolutely decide that they got to go, then that's all it takes because I'm not restrained by all these emotions and rules because I think that it's limiting. Like, that was the whole basis. Well, not the whole basis, but a part of my mental training that I started when I was 14 to disregard a lot of the stuff that was forced into my mind by friends and relatives at a young age saying that I had to be a certain way because religion says or because the law says or this is what everybody expects from you. I'm like, I never agreed with that, but I didn't know how to counteract it until it started happening to me. And I was like, well, I want to make physical adjustments and I want to make mental adjustments. This is what I have to do for myself. And it literally had to be because it saved my life. Like without my training, I probably would have just off myself. There was no reason for me to exist. The training gave me focus and a sense of direction, and it stopped a lot of the whole rage that I was feeling for years, like all that stuff. Humans couldn't do that for me. There was no books or guidelines to help me. It was something new that I had to figure out for myself. I was a special case. And so much so that if you talk to some of the therapists that try to help me, if you will, they couldn't even figure out what to do with me because they were too busy trying to put me into their little boxes that humans would come up with. I'm like, I don't fit into those because just when you put me in there, well, guess what? Now something's revealed to where okay, what are you going to do now? Are you going to take me out of that box and put me into this one? You're going to keep running into the same traps because all of their little techniques they're designed to help the typical problem. But I'm not a typical problem, nor do I see myself as a problem. So your method is not going to work unless you can sit there and tell me that you're of a similar mindset. But that would be close to impossible because I had to do special training to get my mind to the way that it is.
Got you, bro. This was a very, very deep and enlightening conversation, and I learned a lot more about Terrence. I don't know if we quite agree about the not how liking the human thing, but
but
yeah.
but Danny, you are a human yourself, right? So
Oh yeah,
I want everyone to understand that just because I say I don't like humans, they have to understand like it can't mean all of them. Because again, Danny, how will we be friends? How would I like and want to communicate with you and vice
that's
versa?
correct. I guess it's kind of like how Alan when Kaepernick knelt down, nobody know what he was doing at first. Then once he explained it, then to some of us it was crystal clear. To others, they still chose to boycott him and did whatever they did to him. So I will use that analogy, and I get your point. I understand what you're saying. I'm glad you were able to figure it out. I'm glad you were able to get yourself straight. Um, it's never. I know it happens, but when individuals take their life, that's always a sad thing. I'm glad you were able to overcome that process, that thought process, and get yourself straight. I do consider you a friend. Like I said, we got the show together and we talk often throughout the week whenever this crisis didn't happen. But now it got me a little busy doing other things. But like I said, I enjoyed this show. We kind of really got off of the our main comment. I mean, our main content that we usually cover. But that's a good thing. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not complaining. Like I said,
Well, I
maybe
mean, we
maybe
did
it
we
helps
did
someone.
cover it.
Yeah, we did
I mean,
cover it.
we did cover like the Flash and
Yeah,
that
maybe
very odd
maybe
looking Batman thing,
yeah
but like there's not a lot of news though. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So it
Maybe this conversation helps somebody. I believe that I believe in God, and I believe that sometimes He opens doors and does things for a reason. So maybe this conversation came up for a reason, and maybe it'll help somebody. That's how I'm going to leave it.
um did did you see Punisher Warzone?
I did.
Like there was a scene where Frank Castle was in the church and he was talking to the priest and he was talking about the pain and suffering and how he has to deal with the criminals.
Hmm.
And then the priest was telling him like, I get that you're doing good, but you're also taking people's lives and stuff. God wouldn't want that. And then he says, I wish I can get my hands on God. And I'm like, I definitely know, that sort of thought process. I'm like, yeah, just because I believe in him don't mean I like him. Like it's just one of those sorts of things.
Wow. Well, I don't. I'm not trying to rush up, bro. I got two other streams, and I gotta play with my grandson. He is bugging me to death about this freaking video game. So I'm gonna end this real quick. But before we go, please tell the people where they can find you.
Um, I'm thinking. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Humans is Terrence. You can find me nowhere. I mean, in
All
terms
right.
of anything new, I mean, you can go to the Tremaine Terrence channel, and I'm sort of there in the sense of that there are thousands of videos there with me in it, or that I made. But yeah, I've definitely stepped away from that channel because my brother and we had some disagreements on how things should be conducted on there, and I just decided to go away from that. But I'm not against that channel or my brother, and obviously the stuff that I've done will remain there for humans to find if that's what they're going to do. But um I'm very big on stating things, and my brother definitely did not like what I was saying, but I had to say it, and my brother is no different from that. If he says something or does something I don't like, then I address him in the way that I would any human, because I feel like, with a lot of humans in general, their weak spot is their family. That is not the case for me. I'm like, I don't care if you're family, if you do or say the wrong thing, I will address you just like anyone else. There can be no exceptions to my rules. And, Tremaine is one of the many humans that does not seem to understand how I operate, but that's okay though. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect, but you will not find me there in terms of anything new. But like I said, anything that's already there is there. And that's why I said you can't find me anywhere because that's all old stuff. So, but
Well,
that
they
that
can
is
find you here on Sundays. You can find Terrence here every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with me here on Equilibrium, where we will be discussing whatever we can now that we're going through this crisis. Um, Topics are very slow, but we will be here next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Equilibrium Show, starring me and Terrence. My name is Danny. My show was main show was channel. Well, my main channel is Comic Chats. I have a show on Monday nights called The Chaotic Conversation. Tomorrow night I'm going to have a humdinger of a question. Me and Terrence discussed that question earlier today, and with his insight and information, I'm going to form that question. I'm going to send it out to him and other people that's going to be on my show tomorrow night. So please catch me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me, Terrence, Chris Knight, possibly Sean Stackhouse, and Maz Mama Bear, where we'll be discussing another topic. I think if you tune in, you're definitely going to like this. It's basically going to be, I got to word it, but there's three geniuses that you can choose from. First would be Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, and Shuri, Black Panther's little sister. They got 1 year to study the Justice League and come up with a contingency plan to neutralize everybody on the Justice League. You can only pick one. Which one would you pick? And you got to discuss how they would neutralize the Justice League. Would Tony Stark be able to build different armors to accommodate each one, to neutralize each one? What would Reed Richards do? What would Shuri do with her vibranium technology? So that's going to be my main question. I just got to put it in question form and send it out to the guests that are going to be on the show. But I'm interested in hearing what they're going to say. So if you want to
Um,
hear this, go ahead, Terrence.
oh no, I was just gonna say that I very much when it comes to females in general, I have a very broad sense of taste in terms of what their appearance can be, the ethnicities and stuff like that. But I really am more fond of what I call exceptional women. Women that are really strong and fast, that take care of their bodies, women that are really intelligent, like a Shuri, in her case being a genius. Like
Mm-hmm.
those things are huge turn-ons for me. Like where a lot of men are not liking that, like, oh, she can't be smarter or stronger than me, she can't fight better than me. Those are all great by my book. Like if I encounter a woman that's smarter than me, stronger, faster, better fighter, those are great qualities in my opinion, which is why I am very fond of a lot of fictional characters, especially female characters, because they tend to be greater than anything that I've encountered in real life in terms of their physical and intellectual capabilities.
Uh, well, you heard it himself. He loves the strong, sexy, fighting type female. I'm not mad at him. I can smell what he's cooking when it comes to that. But again, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it. We've been on a little over 2 hours now. Next Sunday, we'll try to be a little bit longer. But as always, thanks for your support. Please hit the notification bell. I don't want you to miss any material that we upload. And please give me a thumbs up. And please leave a comment. I will answer all your questions each week. I check the comments. And please be lookout for later on today. We're going to put up a poll question. And I want you to answer that poll question honestly. It's going to be about Terrence. So until next Sunday, we catch you later.